Well, good morning. It's awesome to be in the Lord's house with you. Coming to this camp has been quite a journey that Pastor asked that I share. One thing I found out after the fact is how prepared y'all are, not just with the able-bodied hands and those that do this and that, but they were cleaning out things at camp, and there was a mailbox you're supposed to clean out. And I know I didn't have any mail because I wasn't really quite sure where I was even going to, except that the GPS said go here. So I knew no one knew where I was at. And then someone gave me my mail, and there was a card letting me know that someone I've never seen before or heard of was praying. And that reminded me, there's some of that strength that came during the week that allowed you to not tire, but on what you can handle. That was very encouraging. But it's awesome that y'all know what to do. It's not on our own hands, it's not our own power that we're going to get this done. And the prayer warriors, I thank you so much for them. And the one that unfortunately was supposed to pray for me because they had a lot to pray for. So I was very thankful for that. But I've been able to be at camp for a whole lot of years, yet I've never set foot on the campground. And the reason that share was just the journey that came about is I was with the military group for years that our medevac unit would fly in and land at what I thought was the coolest place to have camp. And I was like, man, these kids have it made. There's all this cool stuff here. Well, little did I know, that's just where they were at for the day from a very loving couple that opened up their ranch to give to what some kids describe as the best day ever. And so I was only getting a taste of it for about 4 or 5 hours, which I'm sorry I ever complained about, oh, it's hot, I can't wait to get back to the facility, realizing y'all were on like day 2 or 3 of temperatures and trials that were beyond measure. And so we had just a taste of it every year. I got to see it from the outside and say, this is a pretty neat thing. Oh, what's going on? Y'all love these little ones. And then finally, a retired colonel friend, Colonel Bob, y'all may know, and Chelsea started twisting my arm a little bit. I was like, nope, I've got obligations. I'm a little too busy for this. And then sure enough, I retired from the military. So they twisted the other arm and reminded me that God's hand is in it. I guess I'm going to be a part of this. So this year is the first time I got to be there for all the days. And I'm telling you, I thought it was for the kids to change their lives, but it's amazing the impact it has to see what it's like when a body of believers come together and die to self and give it all for those that you're there to serve. And it was absolutely amazing what you do. People, as I shared with them last night, or the other night, they just so encouraged me, the young people, to give of themselves, to share with others and encourage them. Not surprised it costs so much to look at. Somehow it's a gift, someday it's a gift. But anyhow, these young people that come and give like that, it is amazing. And I hope what you take from it is amazing that you realize what you gave in that little week is going to be, for some, an everlasting and life-changing part of their life that could live to an eternity in heaven. And I hope that you realize it is all worth that. But being there, folks, it was amazing to see the range of emotions when they arrived, and you had body parts hanging out the windows of the bus, so excited to be there, and they come running up just to see a camper or a counselor they remember from years prior. And they were as excited as Christmas morning to come and give hugs and do that. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. This is going to be great. And then a few hours later, one is teaching me a new cuss word because he's very upset about a boundary line that was given that he couldn't cross. And I'm like, wow, this is going to be interesting. Only later to be out there at Breakfast Club to see him starting to learn it's not just memorizing this verse, but you truly have the promise that nothing can separate you from the love of God. And he's being taught this by one of the people. To then hours later on another day, decided that he's upset and he's going to clobber someone and give him a face punch. And I'm like, wow, they're probably going to send this kid home. Find out that it's time to pray and put him to bed. And think, well, this is what us adults do. We pray. So we prayed one night, and then the next night he said, I want to pray. Because I want to pray for each one in the cabin. And he breaks down in tears, sobbing, because he's finding out how powerful prayer is. To on the last day, again, shouting out words that I can't believe. I'm done with this camp, because another boundary line was told, you can't cross this. I'm done with this camp, to when it's time to leave on the, there's a whole bunch of tears again, because he's realized this is my last year. And folks, that's only one camper. There were 20-something of those situations. And so your prayer did amazing things. The support staff, what a blessing to have them there to make this thing run like it did. It was absolutely awesome. Your pastor, I was a little bit, I don't want to say disappointed, but bummed that I didn't get to see what is the shepherd that's out there acting like a kid, doing back dives off this rope swing. What is he like on the pulpit? I need to see this. This person who levels down like them, brought his lovely family to be with him. So you, I'm sure, know the local body, what your shepherd is like, Pastor John, but it was awesome to be with someone who came out there and loved on those little ones and told them about Jesus Christ. So that's just a little bit of what camp is about. It was awesome to be there. It was great to see how this body of believers impacts it. So thank you for being the extension of the hand of God. It was truly out there and touched many lives, and it was awesome to be a part of. Lord bless each of you.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you. And we appreciate your conversion to go on the other side and spend a week with the kids. It's been great. Great. Yeah, who else is here to share this morning that was on the list? Nobody else showed. Oh, here we go. Great. Come on up. You can introduce yourself and share your story. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So every year at camp, all of the volunteers get a little starfish pin that represents how many years you've been volunteering, because the kids aren't incentive enough to keep coming back, of course. And it comes with this cute little poem that really touched me my first year, so I thought I would read it to you guys. It's called The Starfish Story. So, while walking on the beach one day, I saw a starfish by the shore, and everywhere it looked I saw 1,000 more. Then, to what my surprise appeared, a boy of 9 or 10, and as the starfish washed ashore, he threw them back again. I smiled at such a futile task to save this population. One fish won't make a difference, son. You can't change this situation. He stopped and picked up one more fish, then looking right at me, I can make a difference for this one, sir, and returned it to the sea. So I went and gathered all my friends, my brothers and my cousins. We joined in with that little boy and saved starfish by the dozens. There are many to be rescued, many starfish on life's shore. Let's make a difference like that lad by saving just one more. So.
My God.
So this was my first year as a full-time counselor at camp, and it was exhausting, to say the least. But it was also very rewarding. I had one little girl. She was 12. It was her last year at camp, and she really wanted to catch a fish. And she was out at the lake every single day trying to catch this fish and was just having no luck, and it was really bumming her out to see everyone else catch fish. And it's finally the last day of camp. We are late for dinner. All of our other campers are having meltdowns because they want to get the, not gonna lie, pretty gross lake water off of them before dinner. And she's like, no, it's my last year. I cannot leave camp without catching a fish. And so finally my co-counselor is like, all right, one more cast and then we have to call it, I'm sorry. So she throws this line out, and it was truly a miracle. We were all in the back praying, like, please God, just one fish. We just need one fish to stop this catastrophe that's about to happen. And she pulls out the biggest fish that the camp staff has ever seen. Yeah. And that's what camp is about, just pouring out all of the love and fun and attention that we can possibly hold in our hearts so that these kids have the best week of their life. Because for some of them, this is the best week of their life, and they look at these photo albums every time they're having a bad day. And they love this camp and have been so impacted by it, not just enough to return every year as campers, but to the point where they are on the bus leaving for the last time, and you can see them in the windows, like counting down the number of years they have until they turn 15, when they can return as a junior counselor, because they know how much this camp impacted them, and they want to be that difference for another young kid in the future. And that's what the Starfish story is all about, just like one kid at a time.
So this was my first year being a full-time counselor, but I have been a junior in the same cabin for a few years. And I've had this one girl for, I think it's 3 years now, and she's pretty timid. She's a lot smaller than the rest of the girls her age. She's pretty shy, but slowly over the last few years I've seen her open up a little bit more to her campers and just the adults around her. And so this year, on like the first day, she was like, "Oh, I'm singing this song at the talent show." And I was like, "Okay, that's great." And she was super pumped about it like all week. And then Thursday hit, and they were doing their last like check-ins with the girls, like, "Hey, do you want to sing this? Are you still singing this?" And she's like, "Yeah." But then she'd come up to the counselors and she was really nervous. She's like, "I can't get up there by myself. I can't do it." But she was so pumped about it all week. And I was like, "Well, would you like us to come up with you?" And she's like, "Yeah. Can you sing it to me in my ear so I remember the lyrics?" And then I was like, "Yeah, of course." And then two of the other campers were like, "We'll come up with you too." And there was just overwhelming support. Well, then she was the last act of the talent show on Thursday night. And she got up there and she was like shaking. You could tell she was super nervous, on like the verge of a breakdown. And I went up, two of her campers went up, our JCs, our junior counselors went up with her, our relief junior counselors went up with her. I think there was about 10, 15 people on the stage behind her. And she got up there and sang this song. And a lot of the kids, you know, they get up there and it's kind of more of like a lip sync. You're still super proud of them, but she got up there this year and you could really hear her, and she really sang. And she sounded so good, and we were all so proud of her. And then she got off afterwards, got off the stage, but she started like bawling because she had been holding in all these nerves. And I know one of the little boys we talked about earlier who had been kind of a problem, he came up to her and he was like, "You did so good, I'm so proud of you." And she started crying even more. Because she had never felt that kind of support before. And I know one of our relief counselors then came and took her away so she could get a breath. And I went back there, I'm like, "Are you okay, sweetie?" And she's like, "Don't worry, these are happy tears." And so that was just a big moment for me at camp this year.
All right, I have a story to share that really showed me how much this camp changes these kids, and how much they truly enjoy it every single year. I had a camper this year that was very difficult. He didn't want to do many activities. He had a very offensive vocabulary. And he wanted to fight everyone who bothered him. So, the first couple days, he basically acted like he didn't want to be at camp and that he didn't enjoy it. He had a real kind of tough attitude, always trying to act like the stronger kid, the bigger kid. And when we got to Thursday night, we had to tell him that he was graduating and that it would be his last year. And the first thing he did was he ran over to me. He hugged me, crying, and said, "I don't want to leave, Colby. I don't want to leave." And that, for me, was one of the most touching things I've ever heard. Coming from this kid who would never open up, to just go ahead and do that. And over the rest of that night, he cried many more times, many more hugs, and all the way into the next day, where he just did not want to leave camp. And he said it was the best thing that had ever happened to him.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being there for the kids. And it's amazing to know the kind of impact that all of you who volunteered in whatever way, the impact that you made in the lives of these kids. So again, just thank you to all of you who were involved, and just your participation and your prayers, and keep them going for these kids. They need it.